Hi friends, this is Morocco, Ouarzazate, the Hollywood of Morocco, where they are registering a lot of movies. This is the movie capital of Morocco because they have such an outstanding light in this area. Clear skies all the time, good weather, but today it's pretty windy. So we are here in Ouarzazate. Today is the fourth stage of the 2024 Lamas Rally in Morocco. So what is the Lamas Rally? Lamas Rally is a new project by Manuel Podetti. And Manuel Podetti is one of the masterminds of the Gibraltar race series. I think the first one was like 6 or 7 years ago that went all the way from Greece to Gibraltar. And now Manuel has started a new project which he calls the Lamas Rally. So this is a 6-stage rally here in the desert of Morocco, in the southern part of Morocco. 6 stages, 1,800 kilometers overall. So it's about 300 kilometers every day. And this rally is not really about speed, but it's about navigation. So it's about brains. So you have the liaison, and during the stage you have 2 or 3 special tests where you get a series of waypoints, but you get them just 15 minutes before the start of the special test. And then via a tablet or a GPS or a navigation system, you have to find the right way to connect these waypoints in the right order. So it's really about staying calm. You need to be a good navigator to do this rally, and the stages are pretty long and the tracks are extremely tough. So you might be asking me, what the hell am I doing here with the BMW R 1300 GS among all those 450cc professional rally race bikes and professional Dakar races? Well, I tested the bike at the press launch in Spain in October, but unfortunately we didn't really test the bike a lot off-road. But I really had the impression that this bike was something very, very special, something completely new, and something performing really well on the road and off-road. So I said, hey, let's do a serious test off-road with this bike. And so my friends Renato Zocchi and Manuel Podetti invited me to 2 rallies in Africa. So the first one was the Swan Rally Tunisia, which happened 1 month ago. It was about 5 stages with about 1,000 kilometers in Tunisia. And then I came here to Morocco 1 week ago. So as I was really convinced about the off-road performance of this bike, I did the, let's say, the crazy thing and applied to participate in this rally. So in the Lamas Rally we have the competition class, and there's the discovery category that rides the complete circuit, the complete trails of the event, but not in classification. So the bike is basically an R 1300 GS. It's a stock bike, but it has the enduro suspension with extended travel, 20 millimeters more travel. It has the stock accessory packs like the Dynamic Pro and the Enduro Pro. But that's it pretty much. We have the protection of the engine. We have a special accessory exhaust and handguards. That's it. This is a real stock bike as it comes off the production line. It is equipped with Metzeler Karoo 4 tires. And so I started the first stage in Arcadia, and the first stage was 300 kilometers, and after 30 kilometers I was completely stuck in a very small dune because the sand here in Morocco is very, very soft, and that was a real big surprise because I wasn't really warmed up enough in the morning. So after 30 kilometers I got stuck in this dune, and I was a little desperate because I was out there on my own. So no chance to pull out the bike on my own. So what did I do? I laid it down on the side, on the cylinder head, and turned the bike around so it was facing downwards from the dune, lifted it up, and then I managed to get out. So the first stage for me, 300 kilometers from Arcadia to Merzouga, was a little shock because it was really difficult. A lot of dunes, very soft sand, a lot of gravel and a lot of rocks. But in the end we made it without any problems. And the first days I rode with pretty high pressure in the tires, about 2 bar. and that's why I had some difficulties in the sand with these tires. So I rode those 300 kilometers of the first stage from Errakidia to Merzouga pretty much all on my own. At certain times it was a little scary to be out there in the desert all by yourself, but hey, you know, just calm down, ride the bike and be careful. So I made it to the hotel in Merzouga and I was really tired, but Manuel Podetti had a great idea because he suggested to do the Dune contest. So it was a competition who would manage to ride up to the highest dune of Merzouga, which was close to the Nomad Hotel. And well, I said, I'll go there just to watch, you know, and then I figured out that the sand was pretty tight with a lot of grip. And then I just played around a little bit and I got going. The bike was floating on the sand and then I just pinned it, you know, third gear, wide open, 136 horsepower, going uphill right to the crest of the dune, and I made it to my big surprise. I mean, it was really incredible how this bike with almost 240 kilos performs in the dunes. It was absolutely incredible, and you will see in the video there are some really fantastic action scenes what happened on those dunes. So after the first stage, which was pretty much just to get used to the bike, to get going again, to really develop the reflexes on the bike and to get used to the bike. So we started for the second stage from Merzouga to M Hamid, and this went basically along they call it the Citroën tracks because it's the old classic Paris-Dakar route that goes from east to west, basically along the border of Algiers. And these are beautiful desert tracks. So we started in the morning, there were winding tracks, 2-lane tracks, you know, it was not too dusty and the bike was just flying, you know, not too many rocks, not too much sand. And so we went on for about 80-90 kilometers and it was really incredible. So I put this bike in Enduro Pro mode, put the suspension in the stiffest configuration, damping and springs, and of course I take out completely the traction control and the ABS, because like in the sand or in the gravel you really need the power of the engine right on the spot when you need it, you know, because a bike like this you steer it a lot with the rear wheel. So basically I ride the bike without any electronic assistance. And then after about 100 kilometers of the first stage, we entered a very difficult section of about 3 to 4 kilometers of silt, or as they call it here in Africa, fesh, which is like a really thin sand, like powder. And when you get stuck in there, you can't see anything anymore because the dust, the sand is all over the place and you can hardly breathe. And I mean, if you get in this area by yourself, it's already very tough. But I happened to get in there together with other 3 or 4 bikes, and we were all fighting to get out. So it was quite a battle. But hey, I made it. The bike performed well. I just laid it down once, and you know, but this is the positive thing about the GS. Many people say, this engine is so wide, though it's not built for off-road, you know. But this has, among other positive things, one important fact is when the bike falls down, it doesn't really fall down completely on the ground. It lays down like 3/4, so it's much easier to pick up again. Okay, so second stage, we just made it out of the silt, out of the fesh, and then I was running over wide valleys, beautiful valleys with Table Mountains far away. And it was funny because I saw a sandstorm coming from the right side, and it was just 200 meters away, and I saw it really coming. It was really fast, And I think I was the last bike of the group that managed to pass before the sandstorm. When I rode on, after 1 kilometer, I looked in the rear view mirrors and it was a completely black wall. Okay, so many people said, hey, you are crazy to ride this bike in the desert. You will not have any fun. You will just suffer, you know. But it is completely the opposite, because the chassis of this bike is balanced so well and the suspension works so well, the Dynamic Pro suspension package. And you know, sometimes I came along on the trails and I saw big holes too late, and I really kind of slammed into them, and I was worried that the suspension might bottom out front and end, you know, but this just never happened. I mean, this suspension is so incredibly performing and the chassis is so stable. So frankly speaking, I never had to pull a jolly during the first 4 stages of the event, and I always felt completely safe on this bike, because whatever happens, whatever hole you hit or whatever jump you're doing, this bike really performs in an incredible way. Of course, the engine helps a lot. If you're in trouble, like in deep sand, you just put it in 3rd gear and let the torque pull you out of the sand. But the bike is of course pretty heavy. We're about 240 kilos with fuel. So to make the bike float on the sand, you need to ride it at about 60 kilometers per hour in 3rd gear, which is about 4,000 RPM. And then the front end really starts to float, you know. And of course, in the deep sand, you have to put your weight all the way to the back to make the front end lighter, and then the bike remains really stable. So this bike is equipped with a steering damper, and on the tri-leg near the Ergonomics, I tried to run it a little faster, so I reached about 180 kilometers per hour, and the bike was completely stable in the dirt. I mean, it was really amazing. Absolutely safe feeling, no worries, and great chassis. Another thing which I really like on the technical trails here, I mean, technical trails means there is a mix of sand, rocks, ditches, ravines, uphills, you know, fast sections. So it changes all the time. So you really have to be very, very careful and see what's coming ahead. But the handling of the bike is incredible, because very often I see like a big rock in the middle of the trail, 5 meters ahead, and you really manage to change the direction of this bike easily, just putting more weight on the foot pegs to avoid those rocks. And this is an incredible improvement compared to the old version, to the 1250. This bike is handling so well, like really it was, I don't know, a 600cc bike, but not a 1300cc. So why does this bike work so well off-road? Well, compared to the old 1250, the engineers of BMW have really managed to make the bike more compact in all senses. The bodywork is smaller. The whole layout is more compact. I mean, they have really thought about every single component, how to improve it in order to make a smaller bike. So, for example, the air filter is not just one big drum of air filter below the fuel tank anymore, but it's 2 small elements that are sitting here on the front on both sides, and this really helps to make the bike more compact, you know, to make a smaller fuel tank. So really the ergonomics are more centered on the front end, which gives you just better control, you know. You're not just sitting like on a touring bike anymore, like sitting back and having this big monument of motorcycle in front of you. But it's more dynamic. You're more facing more the front end. And then of course the other incredible thing of this motorcycle is the engine, the Boxer engine, 1300cc almost. I think it has lost a little bit of torque in the very, very low RPM, but that's not really a problem. But the ability to control the power delivery of the engine is so incredible, even without the electronic assistance systems. So you can really make this bike slide even at high speeds, above 100 k's. You're on a gravel road and you just twist the throttle a little bit, and it's so easy to control. And there comes into play, I think, also the weight reduction of the bike. For example, the back end. When the back end starts to slide around, you can really feel that there's not a lot of inertia. So once it gets going, it will not continue to go, but you can really keep it under control with the throttle and just with the pressure on the foot pegs. And ergonomics here, as I said before, ergonomics are very well laid out on this bike. I mean, you can move freely forward, backwards, nothing is in your way. The tank maybe could be a little smaller between your knees. That was really great on the old bike, on the 1250. So the 1300 is a little wider, but hey, that's okay. And then I have added handlebar raisers. So for me, I'm about 1.75 m. The ergonomics of this bike are just perfect. So if I was the project leader of the BMW R 1300 GS, what would I change? So one thing I didn't really like on this bike is how you operate the kickstand, the side stand, because the lever here between the shift lever and the foot peg is a little short. So with big off-road motorcycle boots, it's not really easy to find it and to open the kickstand. This is something I don't really like. And another thing, the rotative sensor of the kickstand is below here, is unprotected. So I was really lucky until now that no rock hit it. But yeah, I would add a protection there. But hey, that's basically it. I mean, apart from that, everything worked. So far I've done about 2,400 kilometers in the African desert on really rough tracks, on really rough trails, rocks, sand, canyons, uphills, downhills. I mean, and everything is fine. No problem so far. It's not leaking oil anywhere. The bike works perfect. Maybe just one last thing regarding the tires. So the Metzeler Karoo 4 tires, I rode them the first time at the GS Trophy in Albania on the old GS 1250, and I really like those tires on hard ground. In the deep sand of Morocco, the front end oversteers a little bit, so you really have to reduce the tire pressure. I mean, you can go down to 1.5, 1.4 bars, but once you reach the hard trails again or the road, you really have to inflate the tires. So, but if you go down with the pressure a little bit below 2 bars, the Metzeler Karoo 4 tires work really well also in soft terrain.